Welcome to this edition of In Depth for a closer look at what is making mining headlines in the Americas. Detour Gold has published a feasibility study for its Detour Lake project, which boasts the biggest undeveloped gold reserve in Canada. Mining Week's Deputy Editor for North America, Lizzo Hill, joins me from Toronto to discuss the project. Welcome to the show, Lizzo.
Thanks, Martin.
Can you give me a quick run-through of the highlights of this project?
Well, as you said, it's a project owned by Detour Gold, a Canadian company. It's located in northern Ontario. And what they're planning to do is planning to build a big open pit mine. Detour has actually moved quite quickly on this project. They acquired the assets in mid-2006, in the summer of 2006. The company then went public in early 2007. And very quickly, by September last year, they had completed a pre-feasibility study. And because a lot of those elements, they'd actually gone ahead and taken them to feasibility level during the pre-feasibility study, they were able then this month to go ahead and publish a full feasibility study.
What are the main changes from the pre-feasibility? From
the pre-feasibility study, one of the big changes, which is good news for Detour Gold, is that their reserves, their proven and probable reserves, increased by 30% to 11.4 million ounces. And as you said, that makes the gold reserve the biggest in Canada, undeveloped reserve in Canada at the moment, and actually number 6 in North America for gold. So that was one of the big things. The reason the reserves increased that much was the company has lowered its cutoff grade, but also has been doing some drilling in the interim, so that helped. They've increased the throughput level, the planned throughput level, to around between 55 and 60,000 tons a day. And just an aside on that, they are planning to build 2 grinding lines at the project. And that's really just the initial project. If the gold price stays above $1,000 an ounce, the company is saying that reasonably soon after they go ahead, it could be a quick decision to go ahead then and put in a 3rd grinding line. That could cost probably about $200 million. Other changes is the project production, once it starts up, is forecast at an average of 649,000 ounces a year, with a mine life of 16 years. And pre-production costs, the capital costs have increased somewhat. They're now at $992 million. But the company says really the increase was essentially as a result of the strong Canadian dollar that we've been seeing.
And where does that leave Detour Gold? What are its next steps?
Well, in the short to medium term, the next big milestones are they need to conclude impact benefit agreements with the local Aboriginal communities, and then they're also waiting for provincial permits. Once those 2 things are tied up, and they expect that to happen in the coming months, then the company plans to actually start going ahead with preliminary construction and development in the second half of this year. And then that will then be a 27-month construction schedule, and which will then bring them to first gold pour in the first quarter of 2013.
Do they have a plan to finance the mine?
Yeah, as I said, it's a big price tag. It's $1 billion mine for a reasonably small company. The company's got 308 million Canadian at the moment, and that should take them through to around mid-2011. And then beyond that, for the remainder, they're looking at a combination of debt and equity. Then that will include some vendor finance that they're actually in the middle of negotiations for. And the company really seems pretty confident that they will have project finance available to them for this project. And then that will obviously be helpful in being able to keep the equity dilution to a minimum. In fact, the CEO said they've got about, I think it's just under 70 million shares out at the moment, and he said he'd be comfortable issuing between 15 to 20 million to help finance the project. And he actually wants to keep the shares issued to below 100 million shares. So that's really, it would be quite an impressive accomplishment for a company to have fewer than 100 million shares out and this big gold reserve of 11 million plus ounces of gold.
Thank you, Lizzo, for your time. That is the show for today. Join me again next week for more news and insight on mining in the Americas. I'm Martin Joaquin in Johannesburg.